Hi, I am Sue Herrera. I am an educator in the Kansas City area, and I have 30 plus years as an educator, teacher, instructional coach, and most recently as principal. And this time of year is known as testing season. And so I'm here today to share just my accumulation of knowledge and practical application over the last 37 years. I'm going to share my screen with you so that we can walk through just some information that I have put together that I hope you will find to be helpful. Goals for today, if you are participating in this, I hope that you will walk away being able to identify what are those everyday skills that are transferable to standardized testing, be able to recognize when you are teaching specific test-taking strategies, which ones can be beneficial, and then embrace a team approach to testing season. I want to stop right here and say that I strongly understand and believe that Tier 1 instruction is the foundation of everything that we do, and that if teachers are teaching to the priority standards, using the map books to identify proficiency and understand the target that we're meeting, the majority of our students will be ready for state assessment. We're really talking about those students that are just under proficiency, performing at a level 2, and need Tier 2 targeted small group instruction and test preparation. You know, testing has its own form, its own style, its own characteristics, and those components should not be a secret to students. Testing shouldn't be something that only educators discuss. It should be something that students know how to discuss. We want students to have power over any test that they take for 2 reasons. One, we want them to have the knowledge that they need to be successful, but we also want them to have an understanding of how tests are created and what is the purpose of a test. So we want to explicitly teach the purpose and form of testing. We want students to understand that a test is nothing more than a device that's created to measure their understanding around a certain skill or standard, much like you go to the doctor for a checkup to make sure that you're growing incrementally the way you're supposed to. And that test creators are going to use all kinds of things to provide information to students. They're going to use articles, videos, stories, diagrams, charts, photographs, any form of media that they can. And that the questions that students are going to see are going to be in several formats. There could be multiple choice. There could be short answer where they're going to have to write something, true or false, fill in the blank, fill in the flow chart. All of these things should be explained to students up front. Probably the most important thing that I have taught students over the years as an educator, and what I've tried to help teachers understand, is that questions should not be a mystery. If students don't understand the question that they're trying to answer, or more importantly, they don't understand how hard they're going to have to work to find an answer, oftentimes you see children get frustrated because they keep going back repeatedly to the text, trying to find an answer that's just not there because it's supposed to be an inference. So I explicitly teach to students that sometimes you're going to find your answer. It's going to be easy. It's going to be like a neon light right in the text. We call that a right there answer. Other times you're going to have to go back multiple times to the text. You're going to go back and pull one part of your answer, write it down, go back and pull another part of your answer and write it down. We call that think and search. As test takers, we want them to understand that it happens when they're asking you to put something in sequence or time order, or they're filling out a chart that has missing information. Most of the time on our high stakes tests, such as the MAP test, students are going to have to find text evidence from the author and couple it with their background knowledge or inferential thinking. I used to tell my younger students, it's like you're taking a walk with the author. You're going to go into the text with them, you're going to pull information, but they're also going to use your knowledge. We call that an author and you type of question. So understanding these 3 types of questions is important. And ideally, you're teaching this all year long, not just in testing season. For those of you savvy educators, you probably recognize this as Taffy-Raphael's QAR, question and answer relationship. It is one of the few strategies that we know there's research behind that really improves students' understanding and helps them succeed on tests. Oh, there's so much on this slide. I am so sorry. Let me apologize in advance. I will try to make it exciting. There is a perfect world, and then there is your reality. In the perfect world, all year long, your teachers have taught high yield strategies to students about how to attack a text. So you've taught them, hey, there's lots of reasons to read. We know all our genres. We know poetry, nonfiction, mystery, realistic fiction, biographies. Sometimes we're going to snuggle up in the corner of the classroom with a comfy pillow and our bottle of water and a book, and we're just going to read because we love it. That isn't testing. Testing is a genre. It is not a pleasure cruise. So, but we want kids to love to read. So we're not going to test them all the time. But when it is time to test, we want them to understand this isn't the cuddle up in the corner with the math test. This is I'm seated at my desk, my feet are on the floor, and I am focused, because testing is important. They need to understand the different type of questions that we just referenced. They need to understand that when you have any article or passage that is hooked to questions, that you're going to read the questions first. You don't want to read the passage first, because then you don't have a reason to read. We always want kids to read the questions first, because when they read the questions, they begin to see, oh, this is an article about whales. Oh, this is an article about endangered whales. This is an article about how we're working to save whales. And so they're getting these clues, and then they're set. They have a set to read. So you want them to read the questions first. You might encourage them to circle keywords in the questions. What are you going to go have to skim for? Is there a sequencing question? Is there a fill in the blank question? Is there a why question, which would lead you to believe that you're going to have to take something from the author and couple it with your own thinking in order to answer it? You're going to want to annotate the test questions. Once you understand your test questions, then you want to go back to the text. You want to start reading. As kids are reading them, go, oh, that was one of my questions. They're going to go back to their questions and reread, go back to the text. They're going to find their answer and they're going to highlight. And they're going to put, oh, that was question 1. They can either stop right then and they can start answering, or they can just know, oh, I found the answer to 1, and they keep going on. We want to teach them that multiple choice answers are tricky. And so you want to eliminate those choices that we know can't be the right one. So we want to narrow it down to 2 choices. We want to teach them to use scratch paper, not mental math. I cannot tell you how many classrooms I walk into and I see kids on high stakes modules or benchmark assessments, and they are just thinking about it. There's no scratch paper. There's no grid paper. They're not doing any calculations. We have to explicitly teach how to use scratch paper. Why is it important? Understand that in a multiple choice question, there's always going to be a good answer and the best answer. That's the trickiest part. And how do you figure that out as a reader? You have to go back to the text, read your question again, read your 2 choices, and go back one more time. I teach my kids that the title to every passage is a clue to the main idea. You can do this with book titles in your classroom. Pull 12 random books, line them up on the chalk rail, hold up the book, and read the title. What do you think this book is about? Oh, I bet it's about The Secret Garden. I bet there's a garden that's a secret. Oh, this is a story about Jumanji, an adventure game. Oh, I bet it's about a game named Jumanji. I wonder what happens. I wonder who plays the game. Notice how the passage is organized as they're reading. This does several things for students. When they notice how it's organized, is it organized by dates? Is it organized by paragraphs? Is there lots of dialogue? Is there bold type? Who's telling the story? If they are cognizant as a writer, as they're reading, that's going to help them as they answer questions. If they have an author's purpose question, if they have a point of view question. So just getting in the mindset, asking those questions as the classroom teacher all year long. Who's writing the story? How do you think the author organized this? Or even, and better, as students are writing all year long, they are being asked questions like, as the author, how are you going to organize this? Are you going to put it in sequential order? Are you going to put it by problem and solution? Are you going to start every paragraph with a date? And also, most importantly, it takes stamina and perseverance. Teachers need to start working kids up to the idea that it's 10 minutes for every grade level. So at third grade, we'd want you to be able to read 20 or 30 minutes, sustained reading. And we practice that all year long. We might want to be able to write for 15 to 20 minutes. We just need to develop that stamina and perseverance. You can often find these on the internet, or you can make them yourself. We have these glued into our students' journals and sometimes onto their desks. These are just test-taking strategies that we've landed upon that we think are really important. I have encouraged my teachers to change it from test-taking strategies checklist to reading strategies checklist. So these are just things we would do anytime we were reading something where we had to answer questions. And these name the things we just talked about. That was the perfect world. Here's reality. Strategic test-taking strategies have been sporadic at best because we have huge skill gaps that we're trying to fill. We have students with social, emotional baggage. We have children that are hungry. We have bullying going on, and sometimes test-taking strategies and the things we just discussed don't happen consistently. And so there's no solid routine in place, and now it's test time. It's the testing season, and now we're in crunch time. But don't panic. If your reality has not been all year that I'm going to have my teachers do this, 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 and this at every grade level, not just 3, 4, 5, on how to approach a passage with questions, here's what I would suggest. You're going to have to prioritize who needs this test prep. So you're looking at your tier 2. If you're using iReady and you use the 5 levels of iReady, you're using that light green. Those are your kids that you really need to concentrate on, because there's no guarantee that the kids that scored in the light green just under proficiency are going to be proficient. So those are the kids that I would pull. Those are the kids we're pulling right now in my building for interventions. Once you've identified the students, you need to identify who can be an interventionist. An interventionist is anyone that's not hooked to a regular classroom who can go pull 5 to 6 kids and work with them. It can also be your specials teacher who might have a nice break in their day. So we have identified our instructional coach, our counselor, our social worker, me, every specials teacher, art, music, and PE, because they all have a nice little break, our reading specialist, and we've even pulled our attendance clerk. And so we are pushing into classrooms, and my instructional coach has prepared strategies, 1 to 2 strategies that we're going to ask the interventionist to teach to every student. Now, the children have seen these interventions before. It might be as simple as reading the questions first and then highlighting in the text where you find the answer. Maybe that's the 2 we've landed on. For us, we've landed on those 2, plus we've added rereading. So those are ours that we're working on all the time. Yours might be different. You might decide to work on math, and you might decide that you've got to teach kids how to tackle a word problem. And so you're going to use like the TIPS strategy, where you're going to teach them that T stands for think about what you're being asked, which means, are we adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing? What am I doing? I in TIPS means, what's the information that I've been giving? Where's the numbers that I've been given? Where's the data? P is, how are you going to problem solve this? Are you going to work backwards? You're going to look for a pattern. You're going to draw a picture. You're going to use straight computation. And then S would be, you're going to solve the problem. So whether you're doing math or you're doing reading, you just have to identify as a team, what are your strategies you're going to teach? 3 or less. You've got your students identified, you've got your interventionist identified, and you've got your strategies identified. Now you've got to find a schedule. Ideally, between now and state assessment time, you've got 4 weeks. And I know all of us probably have 1 day off in between there, so you've got to figure how many days do you have? You want to meet at least 3 times a week for 20 minutes. If you can do more, that's what you want to do. I am an interventionist. I'm working with 4th graders, so I've been working with all year long. And we are trying to meet every single day from 11 to 11:20. And we are doing the test taking strategies I talked about. What materials are you going to use? Well, my suggestion would be if your kids are really struggling and they're just below grade level, you may want to start with teaching the strategies by using a passage that is 1 grade level below, so that they're not focused on the text complexity, but they're focused on the strategy. So you're teaching the strategies with something that's at their independent reading level. We know that the MAP test is not at most kids' independent reading level. We know that it's really at their instructional or frustration level. And so you're going to have to practice in that format. So once you've taught your strategies with a passage that is at their independent level, then you can bump it up. You can use MoLeap, you can use the released items. Perhaps your curriculum, your reading curriculum, your resources provide you with some passages that would be good. Another thing I suggest is that right now, your whole school needs to embrace the idea that it is testing season. And so you could do something like it's crunch time, invest in some little chocolate bars for kids. This is actually the bulletin board that's up at my school right now. It's time to level up, and I've got Sonic there. We're Truman Scholars. And so every Wednesday, we're talking about it's Level Up Day. And we spend the whole day in grades 3, 4, 5, and we're just practice. And then every day the interventionists are pulling those students that are in that tier 2. So find a theme. Students and teachers will appreciate the team approach. Here's some other ideas. Assign a K1-2 classroom to a 3-4-5 classroom. Maybe you already have buddies set up, and this will be easy for you to do. If you don't, go ahead and just pair up a primary with an intermediate classroom, and they can start writing little notes of encouragement. They can start, I've had classrooms create little chants for them, create banners for them. It really is encouraging, and it gives your primary kids some ownership. Have your community partners write Post-it notes to put on the students' desks. Have teachers do that. I bought special pencils for my grades 3, 4, 5. I bought mechanical pencils last year, and I told them that the mechanical pencils were going to help them with their very best thinking, with their scratch paper and their note taking. It was silly, but they loved it. And many of the kids, it was just, if they couldn't find their pencil, they were panicked the next day. I swear, I've lost my mechanical pencil. I'm going to need one. I always had extras to give them. Whatever it takes to help kids believe. As a staff, each one of us records a little video message, something that's funny, a cheer, something that's out of the norm, maybe a song. And then our library media specialists splice it all together in an iMovie. And we have a big assembly. We play the video, and we really encourage our 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. They like to act like it's nerdly and that they're embarrassed by it, but really they love it. And then we encourage our students throughout the testing process to use their strategies that they've been taught and to put forth as much effort and never give up by rewarding them with effort tickets. So every child can earn an effort ticket for every session that they take. Those effort tickets are then put into a drawing, and every day we draw one child from each grade level that's testing, and I have a prize table. Things I've been collecting all year long, teachers have given me. Sometimes it doesn't even cost money. Sometimes it's just eat lunch outside with the principal. Sometimes it's have 10 minutes of extra recess, play basketball with coach in the gym. But it is motivating, and kids really listen for their name and work for those effort tickets. The other thing that is obvious, and I probably don't have to say it to you, but I am anyway, is know the test and the tools. Do your training, get online, look at the timing, make sure that you understand what it's going to look like when the kids see it. I cut and pasted this. I snipped it from the test manual. We know that kids are going to see things like bar graphs, and they're going to have drag and drops. They're going to have drop-down menus. They're going to have some keypad input, some line plots. We know that they're going to have some grade levels have a performance event. They're going to have some number lines, some matching. And so all this is digital. And so if you're not getting on the DRC and doing the practice online tools, you are missing it. And you need to do it and do it often. Kids need to understand which skills they use on a daily basis are transferable to the digital setting. I firmly believe that paper pencil practice precedes digital. So if students can't do it on paper, they're not going to be successful to do it digitally. So if we're not teaching kids how to highlight and take notes, we're not teaching kids how to flag something, we're not teaching kids, how to fill in a flow chart, they're not going to be able to do it digitally. Now, we don't want the tools on the assessment to be a hindrance. And so I encourage you again, make sure that you are having your teachers in this and in this often before the test. Some input I've been given from my teachers is that the highlighter is very transferable, but the sticky note, the Post-it note is not. It's much, much easier for kids to take notes about something they want to remember in a passage than it is to use the Post-it note. You may find that to be different in your experience, but my teachers who have given the test several years in a row have definitely said that. Spend some time before you give your test, making sure that your devices are clean. Those screens get really dirty and you want kids to really be able to see clearly what they're reading. So make sure your screens are clean, make sure that your volume works, make sure you have plenty of headphones, make sure teachers have a plan for informing parents and for just getting the kids geared up for it. I've shared a lot of things with you today. I've shared a lot of things that I would like to see happen all year long. But even if it can't happen all year long, I do encourage you, you have enough time between now and the first week of May to get yourself organized with 2 or 3 high priority strategies, interventionists, and time within your day to make a difference for kids. Have fun. I would love to hear some of your ideas. I'm going to go ahead and give you my email address. It's Sue Herrera, Herrera, the number 14 at gmail.com. Thank you and good luck.